You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 324. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, author of How to Get On Podcasts, the podcast matchmaker, and CEO and founder of the MLG Collective. I'm excited to share the stories and life lessons of changemakers and authors with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey, Steph. Hi. I'm so happy you're feeling better.
Thank you. Me too. I've got this weird people who are seeing the video, this light from the window. Is that distracting?
No, you're fine.
Okay. Yes, it has been a rough couple of months with this COVID strain. I don't know if it's the same strain or it was like a different strain. I got COVID twice, essentially. And I don't know if it was like I had the first, bout for like a month. And I had just stopped like coughing constantly. And of course, then we went on that trip on the cruise in Disney and I was testing negative then. And then we came home and I started testing positive again, like a couple days later, or like a week later or something. I was starting to feel sick a few days after we got back. And I was like, no. So I don't know if it's like the same one or if it's like, I've heard there's like a really...
You're making me
strain.
Commit to not doing cruises. So thank you.
I mean, and like Royal Caribbean's actually great because they have you they have like all these sinks. So like right before you eat, like everybody has to wash their hands and they have a ton of places where you can wash your hands. But the reality is like 5,000 people or whatever shoved on one ship. And then especially theme parks, things like that. And for some reason, my body just loves COVID. Even though I'm vaccinated, it loves COVID. So that's been great. So it's been really frustrating.
Yeah.
It's been a hard season of trying to be patient and understand that like I can't control it because it's involved me missing a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so that's been really hard. But we are testing negative right now. So
Yay.
I am happy. Yes.
Yay.
I always test negative when I have nothing else going on. Time. It'll be when I have something I'm really excited about.
Well, I'm excited to hear what your summer reads are because I shared mine last week and everyone, including myself, are waiting on bated breath for what yours will be.
Okay, well, I'm the worst podcast co-host ever, but what did you share? Can you just tell me real fast? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. I have them actually written down because you would think that I would have memorized them. Okay, so I did some that they're all upcoming episodes. The first one is a graphic novel for kids, Frog Daddy, Andrew Weiner.
Nice.
Fired Up by Shannon Watts.
Nice.
And she's going to be on the show, and I'm going to see her here in San Jose.
Awesome.
So there are tickets available if anybody wants to come.
Awesome.
I want to finish reading Agents of Change by Christina Hillsberg, CIA stuff.
Yeah.
The Art of Vanishing by Morgan Pager, but also Hazel Says No. I forgot that was one. And then Our Last Vineyard Summer. I am just about to finish that. It is so good.
It's so good. I was actually looking at that one last night and I was like, ooh, this looks really
good. I'm really enjoying it. It's got a political aspect to it because the dad is a senator and the mom's a total feminist. So good.
Awesome.
Our Last Resort.
Nice.
Everyone is Lying to You. We've talked about this one before.
Yeah.
The Grand Paloma. And some of these are very much like White Lotus-y ones.
Yeah.
Diana Says Yes, because this is the third in the series and I can't wait.
I love that you have a Hazel Says No and a Diana Says Yes.
That's a good one. Yep.
At the same time.
You can say yes, you can say no. And then I wrapped up the summer with If You're Seeing This, It's Meant for You by the amazing Lee Stein.
Awesome. That's amazing. Well, even though I knew we were going to talk about this, I'm not nearly as organized as you are, which is par for the course. But off the top of my head, the ones I'm the most excited about, well, I will say this. I have been existing on Carly Fortune novels for the last week, and she writes these amazing romances set in Canada. They're all like lake summer. So like what I look for in a summer read is I want to escape and I want to feel like I am by the lake or by the ocean and I'm like falling in love again for the first time, you know? And like where those summers where it's so unlikely that adults don't have like all these responsibilities, but you just relax and you like spend your days by the beach and then you get ice cream and you know, I don't know, like back in the day when like Dirty Dancing, when they'd go to like a resort for the whole
Yes.
summer. Actually,
Yes.
one of her books is set at like a Dirty Dancing type resort, but it's in Canada. And it's just like it sounds so amazing. So she has 4 books. Her first book is called Every Summer After, and that released, I think, she wrote it in 2020, so I think it released in 2021. That is a second chance romance. Her newest release is called One Golden Summer, and it just released a couple weeks ago, I think. That is the second book to Every Summer After. You do not want to read One Golden Summer before you read Every Summer After. So definitely read Every Summer After first, and then One Golden Summer. Both are fantastic. They take place in Barry's Bay, which is a real place, I think, in Ontario, and I now want to go there. And then she has Meet Me at the Lake, which takes place at like a Dirty Dancing type resort, summer resort. And then and that one has a lot to do with like grief, but also like a romance. And it's so good, so good. And then she has probably my favorite of hers is This Summer Will Be Different. And it is set on Prince Edward Island, which I've always wanted to move to Prince Edward Island. And it's so dreamy with all the oysters and just, it's probably her steamiest novel of the 4. And it's so good. Just the way she writes, like you can just like taste the food and like you feel the sea air and it just, it envelops you. I just love her books. They're so, so, so good. We've talked about Annabelle Monaghan. They're like my
Yes.
go-tos every
That was
summer
so good.
are Annabelle Monaghan, Carly Fortune, Emily Henry, Catherine Center. I usually go there for like summer reads. And I actually have not yet read Annabelle Monaghan's new book. You have.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
My
it is
favorite
good.
of hers would be probably that I've so far, since I haven't read this year's yet, is last year's This Is a Love Story. I
That was
loved
good.
that book. I
Yeah.
think I'm going to reread it. Allie Hazelwood, our beloved Allie Hazelwood, just released Problematic Summer Romance. It is also kind of a second book if you read her book called Not in Love. It's the same. It's a similar characters. It's like characters from that book. It's their story, and it's kind of an age gap, but she handles it so beautifully, and it's not creepy at all, and it's just like so good. It's like probably her best book, and like this one was like a dark horse. None of us really knew this was coming, and all of a sudden she's like, "Hey, I'm releasing this book," and it's like fantastic. It's so good. It's so steamy. It's so Allie Hazelwood. I loved it with all my heart and soul. So that's definitely one I loved. And I would say like Emily Henry's newest release, which most people have probably read at this point, but Great Big Beautiful Life, it's not as summery as some of her others. Like Happy Place takes place in Maine and they're all staying in this, you know, beach house for the week and, you know, different things like that. But it is still set on like an island in Georgia. So it's a good escape. I just love like authors that make you feel like you're on vacation, you know, like you are on vacation. A thriller that is releasing tomorrow that I absolutely loved. And I know it's going to get mixed reviews. It is called Kill Your Darlings by Peter Swanson. And it is my favorite of all of his books. He writes, I don't know, you know how you come across an author that just like scratches like an itch in your brain? It's like, ooh, I just was made to read your books. I love the way you write. That's what he is for me. Like all of his books are usually set in like Boston and Maine. The alarming part about what I just said is the fact that he writes really compelling sociopaths. Like he doesn't always have likable characters in his books. But
Luckily, our listeners know this about you already, that
do.
thrillers and murder make you relax.
So, But the way he writes is just, I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm in New England, and I don't know. This one is kind of set across the country in different places, but overall mainly in, I think, Massachusetts. Maybe it's New Hampshire. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's really, really, really good. I think it's his best book. The way he wove the plot, it's really like subtle. And then it just kind of ends and it's like, ooh. And I thought it was brilliant. But I've already seen like there's certain people that are like, oh, this is kind of boring. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. So Kill Your Darlings by Peter Swanson. And Riley Sager's new book, he writes usually a very summary, like thriller. This one is not at all. It's set in the 1950s on a train, and it's very like Agatha Christie, Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile kind of vibes. I actually really liked the historical setting, and I really liked the plot, and I thought it was really like a fun murder mystery, like very kind of, but it's not summary. So if that's what you're looking for, because some of his others have like a more of a summer thriller, slasher vibe. But
Yeah.
this one is kind of more historical, but it's really good. And I'm trying to think if there were any others besides the ones we've talked about.
I want to mention Jane L. Rosen, because for the third summer in a row, she's taking us to Fire Island. Yes. And every time I'm like, I text Jane, I say, I've just looked at more real estate properties because I need to move to Fire Island. Yes. And I'm just in love with the characters. And in Songs of Summer, she takes us all the way back, and we now understand why these two sisters who lived on the island and grew up there no longer speak, and it all comes together.
Ooh, awesome.
Oh, I loved it, loved it, loved it. So I have to add that one too. Isn't it funny that all these summer reads take us to the East Coast?
Yes, it's just like, well, you're a West Coaster. I mean, I am more West, obviously, than East, being in Colorado. But I just love the East Coast. I don't know. There's something about it. I don't love stuffy, rich,
which is why I think I like Fire Island, because it's not like our last Vineyard Summer is Martha's Vineyard, but before it takes place before the Kennedys make Martha's Vineyard, and they like talk down about Nantucket.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's like a rivalry between which island is better. And I would say visiting both in today's day and age, Martha's is definitely kind of the snootier island, but both have obviously a lot of levels of wealth. And, the Bidens have made Nantucket their home. The Obamas, go to Martha's, the Clintons go to Martha's. So a lot of presidents.
Well, when they invite me, I'll let you know how it is.
Yes, let me know.
When they want me for a lobster clam bake.
Yes. I do love, I love like small beachside towns. I think that's why I love like Carly Fortunes. It's like this little beach lake town, basically. And so it's not pretentious in any way. It's not, I'm assuming you have to have some money to be able to buy water real estate now. But a lot of the people in the book had like lived there for years. And there's just something so cozy about it. And just, I don't know. I don't do well with the quiet rules that come with wealth, or like the standards. Like I don't understand them because I'm just not a wealthy person. And Colorado is very relaxed and down to earth. And I would say California is too. You can get obviously into the wealthy.
Yeah, because we're so big. And even just in San Jose,
you have just a lot of wealth.
Both extremes.
California.
Yeah.
But I think the West Coast tends to be a little more chill. So I don't fully understand all the rules of the East Coast upper echelon, like how people function, I don't know those. But another book I really loved is The Poppy Fields by Nikki Ehrlich. She wrote The Measure. Did you read The Measure?
No.
Oh, you have to read The Measure. It's so good. She writes speculative fiction. So The Measure, it was a read with Jenna pick. It's basically everyone in the world wakes up one morning to receive a string, like a box with a string in it with their name on it. It doesn't matter where you are, like even unhomed people, like everywhere they received a box with a string. So it's like it came from the sky, essentially. And everyone's trying to figure out, what does this mean, after a bunch of different research and, the countries gathering, and it happened all over the world at the exact same time. And so everyone's gathering their details, and like they figure out that the string basically indicates the length of your life. So they're able, after a lot of research, to figure out, like, you can figure out how long you have to live. Now, it doesn't tell you the exact day you're going to die or how you're going to die, but it's like, so then it brings into question, well, can short stringers be president? Could short stringers be like serve in the military? Do we allow, because if we let only long stringers in the military, then that would mean our forces are a lot more unstoppable. We won't lose as many people. Now, it doesn't mean you don't get hurt. But it was just this really interesting, like, social study on, and it was like, became this debate between the long stringers and the short stringers. And of course, there's a presidential hopeful who's coming in and is he has long string, and he is quite anti short string, and is kind of trying to vilify the short stringers. And all of it feels very relevant. It's very impactful, and it's a beautiful look at, like, some people want to look and some people don't. China was forcing all of their citizens to look and report their string length. In America, we didn't quite have to do that, but in certain jobs, you would have to, like in the military or things like that. And in this political campaign, this presidential race, the people wanted to know, like, do we have a short string president or a long string? And it's like, does the length of your life determine its value? Does that mean that you're less qualified? Would you rather have a president that will live longer but is like a terrible person? Or would you rather have someone who maybe doesn't have as many years left but could do a lot of good in those few years? And so it's just a really, really interesting look at that. It's like one of my favorite books of all time. And then
I'm thinking it might be too close to home right now.
it is, but it's really powerful. And her next book comes out this summer. It's called The Poppy Fields, and it's like similar in that it's another speculative fiction novel, kind of Wizard of Oz coded, and then it's got like these 4 people and a dog going to try to find this creator of these poppy fields where you can go and fall asleep, and basically when you wake up, your grief is gone. So like it's a way for you to like sleep through your grief. She's just really smart in the way she asks like really poignant questions, and I love her books. So that is definitely one of my most anticipated reads of the year, but also the summer. And I believe it releases, I thought early July. Let me check. Poppy Fields releases June 17th. So not long.
Next week.
Yeah. So very exciting.
Okay. Now that we've talked about all the books we've read and we're going to read, I want to talk about the Substack that I sent, and the importance of actually reading the books, because we both read the books that we work on. Mm-hmm. We read the books on every author that comes on the show, whether we interview them together or myself.
Right.
We read the books that we recommend others read. Mm-hmm. And yet I am finding that there are lists of summer reads, recommendations of books, podcast hosts who have authors on, and they're not reading the books. And it really is burning me up inside. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because you need to read the damn book. I think it's a disservice to authors. I think it's a disservice to listeners, to readers, to be getting recommendations when you haven't even, let's say, tried the product.
My question is this: how do you even begin to create a curated list of recommendations when you haven't read the product? Like, how does one go about doing that? That's my question, because I wouldn't even know where to start without, like, I mean, I guess some are hopefuls that you would want to read, but you don't know that it's going to be a great book. Like you don't actually know that. So how does one do that? What do you think?
I think it's probably based a lot on name recognition on what's been done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of media might already be out there about the book, but I think it even beyond the person creating these lists, what about the readers? How do you trust that this is going to be something that's good?
Mm-hmm.
How do you trust whatever's coming at you if this person or people, whatever it is, they haven't even read it?
Mm-hmm.
What happens when something gets slid into the pages that is surprising or shouldn't have been there or goes against what you believe? Because I think that's also funny is some of these lists will recommend a book where I'm going, because I know that that's not aligning with the recommendation person's beliefs.
Right.
So did you read it? No, obviously not. But did you read between the lines? Again, not. And I feel like we need to call this out more because we're doing the actual work and we enjoy it. But why aren't more calling it out? Why aren't readers like enraged that they're getting these recommendations? They're being fed this stuff, and you're
Right.
being fed it for a reason. Let's
Yeah.
be honest. There's some sort of financial exchange. There's something
Oh,
else
yeah.
going on.
Well, that's what my question was about the list compilation. Is there financial incentives to end up on the list? Or I know that's not always the case, but like, there have to be other motivations involved there as well.
Well, and I think that there's more money that's involved in all of these things than people recognize. And I'll say this, there was and I did this firsthand. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to go on our local morning afternoon show and say these are my quarterly book recommendations?
Right.
And I reached out to them and I said, look, I have no ties to any of these books. I'm not a publisher. I'm not doing this for PR promotion. I have no ties. I am a reader, a podcast host, and I just want to share what books I think are great.
Yeah.
And the producer goes, we love this idea. We're going to connect you with our advertising department because you're going to have to pay to come on and recommend these.
Okay.
And that's when the light bulb hit of, oh, so there are some shows in which people are paying to promote books.
Yes.
So I think that that's important that people know this. These are ads. These are not pure recommendations out of the goodness of someone's heart.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's been that way for quite a while. I've been wondering also how, people end up on the book of the month list, like different things like that. And there have been references to, people paying to get on there. I'm not saying that everybody has, I know there are genuine picks that are on there, but when you get like even like James Frey's new book is causing all this scandal, and it's it was a
I
book
just got it.
pick.
Yeah, it came in the mail.
And
Why is it causing scandal?
because he admitted he used AI to like write the
Oh,
book.
then can I
And
return my book of the month?
yes, you can. And
Okay, I did not know that. That pisses
and
me off.
he's the one that like Oprah came out and said like he had claimed years ago that he wrote this like memoir. Oprah loved it, everybody loved it, and then he admitted he like made up aspects of it, and then Oprah like basically publicly chastised him. And then now it's coming out that he is.
I'm looking at my book stack with disgust. I'm going to return it.
That he, used AI. Now, I can't verify any of this is allegedly that this is happening. This is just what I've heard through the grapevine. But the concern is, okay, so did Book of the Month pick him because he's kind of notable in that he's had like notoriety in the past, or was someone paid to put him up there, and then, so it's just interesting, like how we don't know how everything changes hands. And you would like to think that the people recommending books are literally doing them because they have loved them. But the more you see in publishing, just like any other industry, you see that money talks the loudest and connections and power talk the loudest. I would say I think the most genuine book recommendations you can get at this moment beyond are accounts that, make it clear that they really read the book like you do. I do. There are a lot of bookstagrammers out there that really do genuinely give you their honest feedback. I think when it gets dangerous is when it's someone's career. So it is our career, but we've made a point to say that's a line we're not going to cross. We are going to make sure to read the books we are recommending.
But let's clarify that too, because we don't just recommend what we work on. We recommend even more. So it's not our career, like per se. Like we don't get paid. No. Like our careers involve books. Yes, I just want people to know, like, we're not getting paid to recommend anything.
No.
We wish.
No. I always tell people that I don't get paid for the review. I get paid to make the pie. I get paid for my artwork. The review is my choice. Like I will read the book. I will decide what I want to say. So I never accept payment for people to say, like, can you say this about my book? Or can you say this? Like, I will not take that because no, thank you. Anyway, but I do think that like the book club recommendations, Jenna, Reese, Oprah, I genuinely think that those people are very passionate about the books that they're representing. But again, we don't know all the things that go behind the scenes. But I do believe that they are very passionate about the books they're recommending and really love those authors. Especially Jenna. I mean, Jenna just pours her love for these authors is huge and really, so you can see it there. So I'm not saying it's in every element. I think there's a lot of really reliable places you can get, book recommendations, but to trust things like the New York Times bestseller list or even the book of the month recommendations, things like that. It used to be, well, if it's a New York Times bestseller, it must be really good. Well, if it's a book of the month pick, it must be really good. Well, if it's, this person says it. And the reality is like I said, any industry, money does talk. And so where do you draw that line when books are your career? We're not talking about people whose hobby it is to recommend books, because usually that's out of just that's just out of the goodness of their hearts, right? But when it's your career to promote books, help authors market their books, where do you draw that line? And I think it can get easy to want to grow your brand in such a way that you lose sight of what you were supposed to be doing in the first place, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. I do think, I think it's definitely scary. And then if people are following these, these recommendations, like you said, it reminds one of Marjorie Taylor Greene after she was like, I didn't know that was in the Big Beautiful Bill. Let it be known, this is a lesson to us all, that we should read the bills before. And I'm like, oh, you mean the very minimum of your job? Yes.
Yes.
That is something you should do.
Yeah.
Because like you said, what if something slips in there that you're like, ooh, I didn't know that was in there. Read the book.
Yeah.
Read the bill.
Yeah.
Do what you're saying you're doing. And how does one promote reading if you're not actually reading?
Yes. So many thoughts. There was an article I read last week around not reading and making sure that you can still talk about books without reading the books. And to me, it's just gross. Like, then don't talk about books. Like, don't, if you can't have the conversation, then don't have the conversation. But don't show, but again, this goes back to like, how are you showing up as a human being? Are you being fake AF? Yeah. If you're just talking about the books because you want to look relevant, then yeah. And I think that's also why the books that I look at are not always by names that people recognize and know, because I think that of course we're going to, Allie Hazelwood. Yes. Everybody, you know her, Catherine Center. Like, these are names that people know, Annabelle Monaghan, but then there are all these other books of not as well-known authors that deserve the credit because they are making us cry. They're making us think. They're doing all of these things. But if it's all about the money and it's all about saying, look who I know, or look who I recommended, because somehow you get something back, then no, you're not being, we know I hate the word authentic.
Right. Yep. No, you're not. You are not. Exactly. I feel like I'm deciding about whether to go into this or not because we're running to the end of this episode. But I had a kind of a come to Jesus moment with myself last week because I was deep in my despair, FOMO despair of missing the Read with Jenna book festival because of COVID. And, you know, when you have a period of time where business isn't as good and you're just kind of struggling, it really, I think one of the things like we've talked about in previous episodes, how do you fight that that FOMO and imposter syndrome, you know, come back to the center, come back to why you do what you do. And I kind of had a chat with myself about, you know, just remembering to show up in this place authentically. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, that is what's going to matter. That's what's going to make an impact. Will people benefit from a big name recommending your book? Sure, absolutely. But for me personally, I want to know that that's a genuine recommendation. Like if I wrote a book and I poured my heart and soul into it, I want to know that you're recommending it because you genuinely really liked it. I don't want to have a conversation with this person who is recommending the books and then they're like, oh yeah, I just kind of skimmed that part. Like, it's like, that's an insult to my work. Yeah, I appreciate you saying my name, but do it honestly. Do it because you really loved what I did. I would feel, I don't know, cheated, I think. So anyway, I had this whole conversation with myself about just that each person, and again, we've talked about this in previous episodes, each person is going to show up in the book world in a different way. I mean, just even look at the two of us, right? Your book recommendations are more political, more nonfiction, you know, those are the things that you love reading, where mine are like steamy summer lake romances, right? But there's no issue with either. I mean, both are valid forms of reading and both are valid, you know, ways to have self-care or to, you know, dive into literacy and however you want to do it and promote these authors. So I think it was just a good reminder to, even if it means you're not the biggest name out there, showing up with integrity will always have a more lasting impact.
Integrity. I love that word. I love that you said that. Because, you know, even like you said, I do a lot of nonfiction. I do like political stuff, but I love a beach read. Like I love these other types too. And I think, you know, it's also important to look at why are you reading? And I think for me, it's a mix. I love something that's going to inform, but I also love something that will help me escape.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that mix. Like not every book has to change your life per se.
No.
You know, as long as it, to me, if it makes you feel something, even if it's to get away from reality, then that's still feeling something. If it makes me cry, if it makes me go, oh, I'm falling in love with the book, the people, that, you know, the scenery, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be something earth shattering.
Right.
Just as long as it makes you feel something good, as long as it makes you feel, period.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Completely agree.
Okay. So we'll leave it there for next week, but next week, I think we'll talk about, literary influencers. How's that sound?
I think that sounds good. I think that's kind of the path we're on right now.
I like it.
But yeah, I do too.
Until next week.
Reading. Exactly.
Yes.